News Central now at this hour begins in West Africa, where the House of Representatives has called for the declaration of a state of emergency on the food and nutrition subsectors of the economy. This was during the inauguration of the House Committee on Nutrition and Food Security in the nation's capital, Abuja, where lawmakers also called for challenges affecting the sector tackled. Amadin Uyi reports.
With the prices of foodstuff in the country skyrocketing, this has increased the hardship being witnessed by citizens. Nigeria's House of Representatives, in a bid to address this challenge, recently inaugurated the House Committee on Food and Nutrition.
The mandate of our committee can be summarized thus: to urgently arrest the growing food crisis and malnutrition, which have become a serious threat to security and national development, by examining existing extant laws, evaluating their effectiveness, strengthening gray areas, and adopting an impactful synergy among the relevant MDAs.
Let me also re-emphasize the position of the House to improve food and nutrition for our people. In our resolve as a House to tame hunger and malnutrition, pursue food security and sustainable development, we prioritize agricultural development as a key legislative agenda based on our strong belief that the agricultural sector is a critical factor in growing the nation's economy and scaling down poverty rates.
Lawmakers say while many Nigerians now witness multidimensional poverty, there is a need to address challenges in the agricultural sector.
Most farmers in neighboring border states now prefer to sell their produce to markets outside the country to earn more than they would have earned selling them within Nigeria on account of currency fluctuation.
Food security is not an agriculture issue, it's not a health issue, it's not an environment issue, it's not physical security issue, it's all of it. And you need to have stakeholders around the table so that we can appreciate, we can do better. And the same thing with nutrition.
The committee called for the declaration of a state of emergency on the food and nutrition subsectors of the country.
This committee deems it wise to propose the declaration of state of emergency in nutrition and food security in Nigeria to address the issue with the required sense of urgency and multi-stakeholder strategic participatory approach.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Let's now head to North Central Nigeria, where inmates at the Jos Custodial Center in Plateau State on Friday staged a protest over the plan to reduce their food ration. They expressed dissatisfaction over the decision, a situation that forced prison authorities to fire tear gas canisters and gunshots into the air to bring the situation under control. Sources at the correctional center said the contractor in charge of food supply to the center had complained to the authority on the high cost of food items. Rice, which is a staple menu of the inmates, will have to be adjusted from 4 times to twice in a week and will be substituted with either grains or gari. This decision did not go down well with the inmates as they expressed their grievances on Friday during a routine briefing by the official in charge. Now, the Nigerian government has imposed a staggering $10 billion fine on the cryptocurrency trading platform Binance, citing allegations of worsening the country's foreign exchange crisis. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, reviewed the punitive measure in an interview on Friday. Ononuga accused Binance of engaging in illegal transactions in Nigeria, reaping substantial profits, while the nation suffered significant losses. Ononuga highlighted that Binance is not registered in Nigeria and lacks a fiscal presence in the country. He also alleged that the platform allowed users to arbitrarily fix dollar-naira exchange rates, a practice that negatively impacted the value of the Nigerian currency. He noted that Binance has already begun cooperating with the Nigerian government, providing valuable information, and has suspended Naira-related transactions on its platform. And now to politics. The crisis within the All Progressives Congress in Benue State and northern Nigeria assumed a worrisome turn on Friday when anti-riot police operatives took over the party secretariat. As early as 7 a.m., a detachment of mobile and regular police operatives, including men of the Civil Defense Corps and livestock guards, took over the gates, mounting heavy blocks on roads leading to the secretariat. The police command also stopped the State Executive Council meeting and APC stakeholders meeting by the Comrade Austin Agada-led exco of the party, slated for Friday. Still talking politics, 1 year after Nigeria's presidential election was held across Nigeria, some youths in the South-South region have assessed the process with recommendations for the nation's next general elections. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu completes the reports.
Young people between the ages of 18 to 35 coming from the 6 states in the South-South region converged on Benue City, Edo State capital, and Port Harcourt, River State capital, to brainstorm. Their mission is to assess, analyze the key challenges that trade the pre-election, election day, and post-election periods of the 2023 general elections.
This project is supporting you to lead electoral reform effort. And we chose Benin because Benin will be having up the cycle election, and we think it's necessary and very important to come in here and organize this youth forum so that we can reach the youth here and by extension reach the voting public.
So what we want and what I want to see Niger Delta youth from the Niger Delta, youth from the South do is to engage and get involved in the process.
The participants identified the key challenges to include the redesign of the Naira notes, Nigeria's new election legal framework, inadequate preparation by INEC, challenges in PVC collection and registration, ethnic and tribal bias, among others.
To have a better life, and they see such as an opportunity to have a better life.
Some of the recommendations on how to improve the credibility and transparency of future elections include introduction of electronic voting and digital transmission of results. The group also recommended that the process of registering to vote and collection of PVC should be simplified. On ethnic and tribal bias, INEC should strengthen collaboration with traditional religious leaders for effective enlightenment of their followers.
And voters' education. Those are the areas that are basically where we get a lot of faults and errors. So if we can actually portray those areas and make them to be a little bit lighter in terms of different language communications, I think we'll get a way ahead of it.
One of the things that we actually paid attention to is finding the right channel at which the electoral chairman is actually appointed, elected, or selected to actually do the interests of the Nigerian people.
On the forthcoming Edo State governorship off-cycle election, the participants also called on INEC to collaborate with CSOs and NOA for massive sensitizations of the electorate and politicians on active involvement in the process and shove violence before, during, and after the election. In Benin City for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And away from that, we tell you that the Defense Headquarters has launched the Celebrate Nigeria Challenge, a new initiative aimed at revitalizing the nation and fostering a sense of national pride among Nigerians. In a video shared by the Army on its official X account on Friday, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, emphasized the importance of enduring present challenges for the sake of future prosperity. He urged citizens to embrace the challenge as a way to contribute to making Nigeria great again. Major General Buba kicked off the challenge.
I therefore open the Celebrate Nigeria Challenge, and I commence the challenge by saying, I am Nigerian. Of course, we use the Naira. I will urge citizens to endure today's pain for our tomorrow's gain. We should take solace in knowing that it is all in a bid to make Nigeria great again. We can all begin in making Nigeria great again by taking on the Celebrate Nigeria Challenge. I therefore open the Celebrate Nigeria Challenge, and I commence the challenge by saying, I am Nigerian. Of course, we use the naira. Of course, we are tough, resilient, and industrious. Of course, the African Footballer of the Year is Nigerian.
The Celebrate Nigeria Challenge is expected to encourage Nigerians to celebrate their heritage and contribute positively to the development of the nation. In the meantime, Nigerian army troops have eliminated 3 members of the Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province in the Lake Chad region in a major victory against terrorism. In a statement issued by the Director of Army Public Relations, Major General Onyema Matriculation, the operation was as a result of close collaboration between troops, a hybrid force, and elements of the Civilian Joint Task Force. He noted that the successful offensive, which took place on Wednesday, saw the troops overpowering the terrorist stronghold in the Lake Chad region. According to the Army spokesman, the troops managed to kill 3 terrorists and recover a mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicle, as well as a truck-mounted anti-aircraft gun and a cache of arms, including ammunition, during the fierce battle. Still talking security, over 70 persons suspected of committing different offenses were on Friday paraded by a joint operation of security agencies led by Operation Safe Haven in Jos, the capital of Plateau State. Chizoba Anyonwe was there for News Central and our reports.
This is the first parade of criminal suspects by the combined security agencies in Plateau State this year. It is also the first time this huge number of young men are facing journalists in recent time. Their cases may not be unconnected with the many civil unrest that rocked some parts of Kaduna and Bauchi states, which includes the 2023 Christmas Eve attacks in some parts of Plateau State. The development was credited to a boost in the capacity of personnel as promised by the service chiefs during their operational assessment of the security situation on the plateau.
Security agencies also neutralized a total of 13 armed criminals and arrested 271 suspects for offenses related to kidnapping, armed robbery, gun running, banditry, farm destruction, vandalism, and other sundry crimes. So far, we have prosecuted a total of 33 arrested suspects to court and dismantled 2 arms fabrication factories. Also, personnel recovered a total of 454 livestock from restaurants.
Operation Safe Haven reaffirmed their commitment in ensuring sustainable peace is achieved in troubled areas within her areas of coverage.
Operation Safe Haven appreciates the good people of Plateau, Kaduna, and Bauchi State for their immense support and cooperation towards ensuring critical information is provided to aid the successful conduct of operations by security agencies towards flushing of criminal elements and their collaborators.
A total of 79 civilians were rescued from the kidnappers and armed robbers, while 110 different calibers of weapons and 1,161 ammunition were recovered from suspected criminals. In Jos for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyonwe.
Away from North Central, we take you to Southwest Nigeria, where traditional rulers have expressed support for the creation of state police to achieve effective security at the grassroots. This follows the recent cases of kidnapping and killings in the region, particularly the killing of some traditional rulers in Ekiti and Kwara states. The traditional rulers converged on Ile-Ife, Osun State, to chart a new course on how to complement government efforts in curbing phenomenon of insecurity in the region. They said the region's security outfit, codenamed Amotekun, will be strengthened in terms of motivation, training and retraining, and the provision of state-of-the-art weapons to tackle insecurity in communities in the region.
The Security Summit called on Yoruba traditional rulers to return to the pristine Yoruba traditional, spiritual, and cultural values. At all times, traditional rulers should recognize that in spite of whatever the nature of religion they practice, they must recognize that the stool they preside over is traditional. The summit called on traditional rulers to take on full possession of their forests, homelands, and farmlands. The summit called on local, state, and federal government to employ the use of drones and other appropriate technology for the effective surveillance of Yoruba forests and roads.
I'm calling all the traditional rulers to set up community security network that the number will reach from 50 each local government that will be sponsored by the local government chairman in the basis of stipends. And I suggested that a conference like this, the Oni of Ife should call it twice in a year to bring all the Obas together and the stakeholders in Yoruba land. It will give room for unity, cohesion, and strategy. How Yoruba people can have a successful region within.
Now, the Nigeria Police Force has a not-so-cordial relationship with Nigerian citizens. This somewhat not-so-pleasant relationship stems largely from the excessive force on people, cases of corrupt practices, and many instances of infringing on the rights of the citizens. While it must be noted that there are police officers who live up to their responsibilities, the actions of the bad eggs amongst them has over time left them with a serious trust deficit. News Central's Bettina Imili tells us more.
The relationship between Nigerian citizens and the Nigeria Police Force is a love and hate one. On the strength of the mantra, "The police is your friend," many expect the force to provide citizens with security and safety. Unfortunately, many Nigerians have sad tales to tell of their bitter experiences at the hands of officers of the police force.
Police is the friend of community. Right from time, police is my friend. If you don't steal, you don't fight, you don't commit, you don't do anything, police is your friend. So if you follow those laws, police are your friend.
If they are a friend, they're supposed to be like watching over us, not going after us, not arresting innocent souls, trying to save lives and properties and take care of the needy. But this way now you find it when you see a policeman now who arrests somebody driving on the right side, trying to install money from them, that is wrong, totally wrong.
Stories abound of cases where police officers have abused citizens and violated their rights, and in some cases, innocent persons have been subjected to harrowing ordeals as criminals. But the police authorities are making efforts to right these wrongs through various means, such as their complaints response unit.
Other states have started coming up. Lagos State was the first to create a complaint response unit. So this is to make officers accountable, and it's a good thing. It's good to note that many Nigerians, or many Lagosians in particular, now have been taking advantage of that. They quickly reach out to us when they see things going wrong. And we also take advantage of multimedia messages too. People just take out their phones, record police officers misbehaving, and send to us, and we're able to use it. So we are very mindful of that, and we encourage more and more people to take advantage of the complete response unit, take advantage of the numbers we've rolled out there, numbers of all DPOs, so that by the time you call your DPO and there is no tangible response, at least it's closest to you, then you can reach the complete response unit and we'll try to do something about it. Well, for Lagos State, we have 2 3-digit numbers and they are toll-free. We have 767 and we have 112, and they actually work.
In any society, it is the responsibility of the police to maintain law and order. The significance of this role cannot be overemphasized, and this underscores the importance of efforts to reform the Nigeria Police Force. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Many thanks for staying with us. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of new members of the management team of the Federal Government of Nigeria Power Company Limited. The appointment is in recognition of the critical role of power supply in driving enterprise and industrial development, and as a part of comprehensive efforts to reform the power sector and ensure energy security for all Nigerians. The president anticipates that with the full constitution of the management team, the FGN Power Company Limited will work assiduously to realize the core objectives of the Presidential Power Initiative in close collaboration with Siemens Energy. Nigeria's House of Representatives has tasked the Joint Admission Matriculation Board to extend the deadline for the registration of students to allow more candidates participate in this year's matriculation examination. This followed a motion raised on the floor of the House, where lawmakers mandated its Committee on Education and Legislative Compliance to enforce strict adherence.
Without extension of the registration, many candidates will not be able to register and participate in the exercise. And that means there will not be a wider coverage and participation in this year's UTMB examination in Nigeria. Convinced that your quick response to the extension of time by 2 weeks will encourage the parents of this candidate to persistently register their children. Importantly, this will reassure the public on the confidence of this current administration in Nigeria.
To health matters now, Nigeria's House of Representatives has called for mandatory drug testing for students across the country to help curb the menace of substance abuse. This followed a motion on the floor of the House on the need to introduce mandatory drug testing for secondary school students in Nigeria, owing to the increasing recorded cases of substance abuse being witnessed. The House, while expressing worry over the situation, urged the Federal Ministries of Education and Health to collaborate and develop a mandatory drug testing program in secondary schools, and also urged the National Orientation Agency and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to increase sensitization among students.
Also worried that according to studies which showed a notable prevalence of drugs and substance abuse across secondary schools in Nigeria, 1 in every 4 students between 15 to 19 years abuse substances. Syrup containing codeine and tramadol top the list of drugs, ranking higher than cannabis. Aware that random student drug testing, RSDT, is a drug prevention program whereby students are tested for recent use of illegal substance, and is aimed at deterring drug use and identifying students who need help with staying drug-free. Cognizant that a mandatory routine and random drug testing for students is for preventive, not punitive purposes, and early intervention is crucial.
A civil society organization called Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Kappa, has urged the federal government of Nigeria to fully implement and increase taxation on sugar-sweetened beverages to a minimum of 113 naira per litre. The organization made the appeal at a public presentation of the simulation study of the potential fiscal and public health effect of SSB tax in Nigeria on Thursday in Lagos. News Central's Adeshewa Dushoga reports.
The Nigerian government introduced a sugar-sweetened beverage tax embedded in the Finance Act of 2021, introducing a 10 naira levy for every 1 litre of carbonated drink and non-alcoholic drink. Now, what this means is that for every 50 centiliter of carbonated drinks such as this that you consume, the Nigerian government gets 5 naira. Now, a civil society organization is asking the Nigerian government to increase the 10 naira levy for every 1 litre to 130 naira per litre on carbonated drinks. The executive director of Kappa, Akimbode Oluwafemi, emphasized the need for a multi-sectoral approach that combines policy engagement with public awareness, community mobilization, and stakeholder consultation and engagement.
The government does not even have the revenue to spend on public health. And so by going this way, government again can also begin to earmark some of this money to fund access to health in Nigeria.
The organization made the appeal at a public presentation of the simulation study of the potential fiscal and public health effect of SSB tax in Nigeria.
As you're increasing tax, you're also controlling the behavior in terms of response of the industry as well. For example, I made mention during my presentation the case of South Africa, whereby they are charging their SSB tax based on the sugar content of each product. So if that as well can also be implemented in Nigeria, it's something that will make this very effective, and our desired results will be achieved.
This is what Kappa is doing. We are trying to let's start from the root cause of these diseases. That's why we are saying people should reduce the excessive intake of sugary drinks and also promote the public policy, that is the SSB tax policy. We know that with this tax, we can reduce access to unhealthy drinks, and we can also make it less affordable for the general public.
Some of the major health implications of the excess consumption of these fizzy drinks include obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart diseases, mental disorders, and cancer, amongst others. With the rising cost of treating this non-communicable disease, the group said it was important to discourage the source through awareness and a tax system. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
Leading advertising agency Benue Nigeria recently hosted an event in Lagos, Nigeria, to address the current state and future of the marketing communications ecosystem in the country. Here's the reports.
The marketing and advertising ecosystem in Nigeria has witnessed remarkable progress in recent years. It is particularly evident in the adoption of new technologies and the increased sophistication of marketing strategies employed by agencies and brands alike.
The Nigerian advertising industry is regulated in practice and as a business. And so this is an opportunity to tell the global market, the global players, that we have some peculiarities in terms of what we do and how we do it.
A lot of things have changed. We have seen the evolution of the digital space. And we have also seen the fragmentation of media, reporting, and media generally. And we have also seen the shift from TV being the first screen to digital platforms, our phones and mobile platforms suddenly being the first screen.
The recent Dent2 Africa Summit held in Lagos provided inspiring insights on digital marketing. The theme of one of the panels, The Revolution of Digital Commerce, highlighted the industry's forward-looking approach and its commitment to embracing change.
Many people talk about the future and assume many things and forget that they're actually in the position to make that future real. And the only way to do that is to start now. Try things, test things. You have to experiment.
So the Now Summit is about reviewing the past, where we are today, and set the agenda to consider what role technology will play. How do we plug into the AI ecosystem? Where are Nigerians? And then unpack the new skill sets we need to take marketing communication to the level it desires in this part of the world.
By embracing innovation, the Nigerian marketing communications ecosystem will play a leading role in shaping the country's economic landscape and propelling it towards a brighter future.
A memorial funeral service has been held for the late group chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, Abimbola Olurotimi Ogunbanjo. Ogunbanjo was one of the victims of the ill-fated helicopter crash, which also killed Herbert Wigwe, the former group chief executive officer of Access Holdings PLC. News Central's Bernard Akede was at the service and filed in this report.
A solemn service it was, as friends, families and well-wishers gathered to pay their last respect to Abimbola Ogunbanjo. Until his tragic passing, Ogunbanjo was the group chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, and at 61, many felt he still had a lot to offer. The Church of the Nativity in Ikoyi, Lagos, was packed full with dignitaries who at one point or the other had interfaced with the deceased and found it hard to believe he was no more.
In his honor, corporations will rise bearing his name. Foundations will be formed and stand as a testament to his legacy. And as long as I breathe, his memory will endure, an eternal flame of remembrance and inspiration to everyone in this room. May the memory of his kindness, wisdom, and love be a guiding light for us all as we navigate the journey ahead.
Abimbola Ogunbanjo was one of 6 persons who lost their lives when their helicopter crashed in California. Also on board were Herbert Wigwe, the former Group Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings, his wife Chizoba, and his son Chizi, all of whom lost their lives. After the service, most of the attendees refused to speak to the press as they were still in shock and mourning. But for those who did speak, they could only wish this was all a bad dream.
He was a nice guy, hardworking guy, forthright. He had this exceptional wisdom, manners of talking and constructing things. He was very, very forthcoming. He'll be greatly missed.
Bimbo was a gentleman. He was very kind-hearted, and he had an infectious smile, and it makes it all the more tragic to think that such a wonderful soul, such a soul that filled the room, has left us.
The remains of Abimbola Ogunbanjo were later taken to his hometown in Ijebu, Ogun State, where he was finally laid to rest. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
In Central Africa, Chad's opposition party has condemned the death of the leading adversary of the ruling junta, describing it as an assassination by the presidential guard. Yaya Dillo Jeru, the leader of the Socialist Party Without Borders, died in the capital in N'Djamena ahead of a May election where he was set to face his cousin and transitional president Mahamat Idris Deby Itno. The 49-year-old opposition leader had been accused of leading an attack against the officers of the Internal Security Agency, which he denied. Following his death, internet access was cut in the capital and the army conducted an assault on the party's main office.
C'est un tir à bout touchant. Ce n'est pas un tir à bout portant. Ce qui veut dire purement et simplement que Yaya Dillo Betty a été assassiné d'une manière cruelle et nous autres aussi sommes programmés dans ce couloir de la mort. Quand vous regardez les images de la dépouille mortelle de feu Yaya Dillo Betty, c'est un tir à bout touchant. Ce n'est pas un tir à bout portant, c'est un tir à bout touchant. C'est-à-dire que une fois interpellé, on lui a placé les fusils à la tempe pour pouvoir tirer. Et si d'aventure l'armée était intervenue pour lancer l'assaut sur le siège du PSF, c'est bien évidemment un assassinat programmé et planifié qui a abouti. Aujourd'hui, nous payons le prix, et Yaya Dillo a payé le prix de refuser de s'aligner aux 200 quelques partis politiques soi-disant qui soutiennent sa candidature.
Now, the Democratic Republic of the Congo President Felix Tshisekedi has expressed his willingness to meet with his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame to address the ongoing instability in the eastern DRC. The dispute between Rwanda and the DRC concerns the operations of the M23 rebels in the eastern DR Congo. Kinshasa has repeatedly accused Rwanda of supporting the rebels, while Kigali denies any links to the movement. Last month, during the 37th Summit of the African Union, a mini-summit on the situation in the east of the DRC was held at the initiative of the Angolan president, bringing together several heads of state and government. Following the mini-summit in Addis Ababa, Lorenzo met to discuss the DRC conflict, which he noted the deterioration of security situation in eastern DRC. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Mavuto Bamusi, who is an independent analyst. Thank you so much for joining us, Bamuso.
Thank you for having me.
So permit me to start this way. We've seen DRC, most especially the president, continuously coming out with accusations against Rwanda for supporting the M23 rebels. Are there any evidences to show this particular allegation?
Well, we can look at the historical nature of this particular conflict in DRC, in DR Congo. As a matter of fact, this is a crisis that has been going on for many, many years. And in fact, the conflict in DRC has also been termed as the longest running conflict in Africa, involving many nations. At some point, Uganda was involved and other countries also being involved. And so many allegations also concerning certain Western powers taking advantage of the mineral-rich the resources in DR Congo. But coming to the specific issue of relations between DR Congo and Rwanda, one can only speculate that it is also to do with the resources, the minerals, especially that are there in the eastern part of DRC. So places like Kivu, the regions like Goma, and the other districts which are also bordering Rwanda. But on the other hand, we must also bring in the factor that is to do with some tribes of Rwanda that for some time have also sought refuge in DR Congo. So some of these tribes, which were at the center of the genocide in Rwanda in 1991, it is speculated that they are also at the heart of causing or sponsoring the conflict or the fight between DR Congo. So there are rebels, Rwandan rebels, that are inciting provocations from within the borders of the DR Congo. So a number of factors there, military factors, historical factors, as well as the economic factors.
All right, so now that we are seeing Felix Tshisekedi wanting to meet and hold a talk with Paul Kagame, how crucial is the cooperation between these two countries in achieving a sustainable solution to the conflict in the region?
It is extremely important that this particular meeting should happen between Felix Tshisekedi and the president and Paul Kagame of Rwanda for a number of reasons. I'll just cite a few. Number one is the fact that the conflict in DR Congo brings in instability, not only between the DRC and Rwanda, but across the two regional blocks. So there is the instability in DR Congo causes it transmits instability in the SADC region, the Southern African Development Community, because the DR Congo is a member of SADC. And on the other hand, Rwanda, as being a part and parcel of the East African community, also means that the level of instability transcends the borders of the two countries. So therefore, this particular interface, this particular meeting between Tshisekedi of DRC and the Paul Kagame of Rwanda brings in multiple benefits. It brings political stability. It also brings prospects for economic stability, as well as a social cohesion among the people in the region.
Mavuto Bamusi, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Kenya and Haiti have signed a reciprocal agreement on Friday, allowing police from Kenya to lead a UN-backed mission to address the violence and lawlessness in Haiti. Kenya had offered to provide up to 1,000 personnel for the mission, a move supported by the United States and other countries. However, a Nairobi court ruled that the decision was unconstitutional due to the lack of reciprocal agreements between the two countries. The signing of the agreement comes after the UN Security Council approved the multinational mission in early October. Kenya's President William Ruto and Haiti's Prime Minister expressed optimism that the deployment of Kenyan police would help restore peace and stability in Haiti.
To inform that Prime Minister Ariel Henry, here with me, and I have witnessed the signing of this instrument, we have also discussed the next steps to enable the fast tracking of this deployment. Let me conclude my remarks by taking this opportunity to reiterate Kenya's commitment to contribute to the success of this multinational mission, and we believe it is a historic duty because peace in Haiti is good for peace in the world as a whole.
Talking sports now, Jose Peseiro has left his role as the coach of the Super Eagles after taking the team to the final of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The team lost to Cote d'Ivoire in the final of the competition. His contract with the team expired in February. Although there were reports that the Nigeria Football Federation were negotiating with the Portuguese to renew his contract, despite calls for him to continue, the 63-year-old revealed his Nigerian journey has come to an end. This he confirmed via his X-handle. The former Venezuela manager thanked the NFF officials and players for their support during his time in charge. Peseiro was appointed Nigeria coach in May 2022 on an initial one-year deal. And now to discuss this, we are joined by the head of Sports News Central, Babatunde Koiki. Babatunde, it's nice to have you in the studios.
Thank you very much.
So what's your opinion about Mose Peseiro's tenure as head coach?
Yeah, well, the scorecard itself is very clear. He played 22 games with Nigeria. Nigeria won 10 games under him, drew 5 but lost 7, scored 39 goals and conceded 14. So you considered 24, I beg your pardon. So it's very clear he had a win percentage of just less than 50%, but that's not really the problem with a lot of Nigerian fans. They believe that they were not happy with the quality of football, especially at the Africa Cup of Nations, where Nigeria seemed particularly defensive, despite being rated as one of the most offensive, top-heavy sides going into the competition. Also the fact that he lost friendly games to the likes of Guinea, couldn't beat the likes of Lesotho and Malawi. But it's been a recurring question for Nigerian football fans. Would you like to play good football and lose, or would you like to play bad football and win? And a lot of people say that if Jose Peseiro had won the Africa Cup of Nations, that this might have not been a question.
So I'm looking at the statistics that you just rolled out now. Did they actually do enough to earn a better contract from the NFF?
Now that's an interesting question, considering the fact that we hear quite strongly that Jose Peseiro was given a mandate to get to the semi-finals of the Africa Cup of Nations. When his contract initially ended, after 1 year, he was given a short-term contract until the end of the Africa Cup of Nations. And that mandate was that the minimum required was to get to the semi-final. He got to the final, which meant that he had exceeded what was asked of him to do. So by virtue of that alone, I feel that he should have stayed. But there is a problem that we might be making the same mistake that we made when we fired his predecessor, Gernot Rohr, just before the Africa Cup of Nations. Nigeria went to that tournament, did well in the first round, but were knocked out in the second round. We have World Cup qualifiers coming up in June against South Africa and Benin Republic. Nigeria is struggling to qualify in that group, couldn't beat Lesotho, couldn't beat Zimbabwe. So a lot of people felt that for the sake of stability, he should have stayed in place in order to help Nigeria negotiate through the World Cup qualifiers. So there is a risk letting him go at this particular point in time.
Well, he's the one that said that he doesn't want to continue in that position anymore. And I think I read a report where he seems to have taken up the offer being provided by the Algerian national team. But then,
just to clarify,
okay.
Yes, Algeria. We do know, as a matter of fact, that Algeria did reach out to him.
Mm-hmm.
They first reached out to Carlos Queiroz, was their first choice, former coach of Manchester United, assistant coach and coach of Iran and Egypt as well. The second candidate was Vladimir Petkovic, former coach of Switzerland, and then there was Jose Peseiro. Queiroz turned down the offer, but Petkovic did. And yesterday, the Algerian Nigerian Football Federation announced that Vladimir Petkovic had been hired as the new coach.
Okay.
What we did here is that the fact that both parties decided that it was best to part ways. That's the Nigerian Football Federation and Jose Peseiro. But I'm still not sure that was the best decision.
So post Peseiro, should the NFF be on the lookout for another foreign coach, or probably look inwards for a local coach?
The question is, you can't get foreign coaches. You can get any kind of foreign coach. The question is, can you afford them? Can you afford the likes that you want? It's like walking into a restaurant and looking at a T-bone steak, filet mignon, Wagyu beef, but you only have money for pomon in your pocket. Can you afford the top quality coaches? Or would you rather go for those no-name coaches who just come with no CV, but by virtue of their skin, they're giving color of their skin, they're giving positions in Africa? We do know, as a matter of fact, that coaches like Emmanuel Amunike, former coach of the Tanzania national team, former African Footballer of the Year, a Nations Cup winner as well. He's mentioned that he's seriously interested in this position if it ever became vacant. It's now vacant. It's up to the Nigerian Football Federation to decide if he's the best man for the job. There will be negotiations, but the question is, will they go for a foreign coach or a Nigerian coach? Time will tell.
Babatunde Koiki, thank you so much for the updates.
Absolute pleasure.
That's all at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Nigeria's House of Representatives wants state of emergency declared. Chad opposition party decries killing of leader Jero. We also told you that Kenya and Haiti sign accord on police deployments. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. And you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.